Um, you guys wanted to learn how I look at commercial deals, right?
How you find them, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Before we get started, any other questions that you had on the top of your head?
Um, not. I mean, I got a lot. I got a bunch of questions here, but not really related to that topic per se.
Okay. I am going to share my screen. All right, you guys see this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here's what I've done, and I'm happy to send you this bookmark where it's got 31 different URLs that I've saved. And what it does is it pulls up a lot of residential realtor sites that have listed commercial properties. In our area, there's a website called Sibsey Klein where you can search by commercial. Sibsey Klein is traditionally a residential realty. They've gotten into commercial, but when their realtors post commercial deals, usually it's residential realtors posting commercial deals, right? Which is a gold mine because often they misprice them. And, quite frankly, they don't know what they're doing a lot of times. They do have a handful of good commercial brokers. But let's go through here and take a look. We'll start with some random ones. This is Springfield, Ohio. Photo coming soon. Now, I like these because a lot of people will glance over that and they'll be like, well, I'll just wait till I see the picture. They're lazy. So we'll Google the address.
Good idea.
It's just so Oxford, this is a college town.
Yep.
Run of the mill housing, $700,000 for this. Not interested.
Nope.
I don't know what this is. I'm assuming some kind of restaurant. Yeah. So it's a closed restaurant for $350,000. Um, I know, I don't know this area actually. Now, what I'm going to do, if I Google map this, I'm going to see if there's a lot of vacancy in the area or if it's just full of retail. So this is a rural area and there's plenty of land for development. Not interested. If this guy sells the farm,
This guy.
it's, you're not
Give him a
landlocked by
grant.
any means. Proximity to the interstate is great, but this is not a major exit. And if it was, you would see a lot more development around the exit. So not interested. This, just by looking at it, not interested.
So do
Looks
you
like
find most of your deals on these websites? I mean, that are listed on the market already,
I
or do you
would,
find
yeah,
a
I would
lot of?
say over half of my deals have come from this.
Okay,
Um,
that's good to know.
Now here, I'm going to assume this is a closed Mexican restaurant because if it was open and there was a lease in place, it'd be more than $300,000. Let's take a look. Now, it was a Mexican restaurant. Aurelian, at least down here, these Mexican restaurants pop up all day long. I mean, they're everywhere. So let's take a look at their pictures. I love this. It's in a busy retail area
Okay.
next to a strip mall. So this one deserves closer attention. So there's a gym there, gas station, Rallies, fast food. And this is cool because if there's a Rallies and it's not at a traffic light intersection, that means land's pretty valuable because ideally these fast food places want something at a signalized intersection. And if it's, standalone on the road, That's a good sign. So this strip mall, let's see if there's any for lease signs. Yeah, okay, a giant for lease sign. This looks mostly vacant. KOI Auto Parts, I think they're a national tenant, so that's good. Back to our spot. All right, so drive-through access, I believe, right? Did we have drive-through? I would assume yes. So
Yeah.
drive-through, easily repurposed for a lot of different deals. Let's go back to the street view. Okay, even better. Taco Bell, again, they're not at a signalized intersection. The McDonald's is going to be,
Can you expand on the being at the signalized intersection?
yeah, it's higher number of vehicles per day that go in front of your business. So now you have this 4-lane road and this 2-lane road here. Ease of access as well. Um, you'll be surprised that a lot of older people will not make left turns. They only, a handful of them will only make right turns. I had a friend of mine who owned a breakfast restaurant in a strip mall with a traffic light. The strip mall owner across the street offered to give him like a year's worth of free rent. uh, the rent would be less than what he's paying now for twice the square footage, and he would build him an outdoor patio that he doesn't have today.
Oh,
So, from
wow.
a business perspective, oh my God, I'm going to save money on rent, have a bigger spot, and have outdoor seating. He didn't do it because there was no traffic light at that intersection, and a lot of his clientele are older. So, they're not going to make that left turn off of a busy road.
Yep.
They only make right turns. So being this close to a McDonald's and what else was there? Rallies, Taco
That's true.
Bell.
Yeah.
Um, I would think this is a pretty easy turn and burn. So we're going to duplicate this one.
So what are the opportunities you see with a place like that? What would you do with it?
You would ideally repurpose it as a restaurant. It's too expensive to go in there, tear out the inside, redo it for somebody else. Um, a Starbucks is not going to move into this type of building. They're going to want it knocked down, and they're going to want their own building with their own footprint, their own specifications. So national tenants have to conform to their brand. That's why McDonald's buildings look alike, Wendy's, Rallies, Taco Bell, they all look the same for brand recognition. But what would this cost? So on a $300,000 building, if you put down 20%, your loan is at $240,000. Your principal and interest is only $1,300 a month, right? So if you can rent this space out for $2,500 a month on a triple net, that's a huge win. And
So how are you pulling your numbers? Obviously, you get the 300,000, right? And then you're 20% down. So then you're financing 240.
yeah, 4.25%, 25-year amortization.
Okay. Gotcha.
And again, I think I've shared this with both of you guys, but when you start out in commercial, banks will often want 30, 35% down. And unless you have a stable tenant, lease signed, you can probably get it lower. But once you build that relationship, it's easier to get it down to 20%. So, Aaron, I need you to call on this.
Okay.
I'm going to send you this link.
All right.
where did I go? Okay, so yeah, I mean, this seems like a pretty easy deal, right? Aurelian, what are your thoughts?
I'm wondering, so how would you go about leasing it up?
Um, a couple different ways. One, the easy way is find, excuse me, find a commercial broker that is in the restaurant space, and those guys are very specialized. You can find them, call around to different brokerages and say, hey, who's the best in the city with leasing restaurants? And a lot of these guys, um, they may not even take this on because there's not enough money in there, and they're often very busy. So if you speak to them, maybe pick their brain, get some ideas, and maybe they can recommend a different broker to help you. An absolutely giant for lease sign put as close to the road as you can. And Aaron, this one's been on the market for some time. So I wonder if there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, there probably is. How long's it been on? Where's it show that at?
It doesn't on here, but I've seen
Okay.
this listing pop up a number of times.
Gotcha. So you just know from looking.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
let's move on. Um, this is some kind of automotive business. $212,000. Not really interested. This strip mall I've called on. I love these types of places. The problem is it's in a smaller town. Um, the tenants that are in there now are paying a very, very low rent. It is across the street from a Walmart. Um, but again, I love these types of places. This one's tough because there's not a lot of parking spots. That's a
Good point.
huge problem.
There's like one, two spots per place. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So the way you would rent this out is you would have to stagger business hours for your tenants. So maybe a coffee shop where people early in the morning will take up parking spots, maybe a hair nail place, and then a tax place where people after work will come there, right? So you stagger the use of your parking lot. But yeah, I think the rents are low because parking sucks and
Right.
it's a small town. Um, this is an office condo, no interest whatsoever. They don't appreciate office condos. It's just like a residential condo. It's going to sell for whatever your neighbor's condo sold for,
Okay.
right? It's just pointless. Um, we can look at this. Not very interested. So this
What is
looks like
it?
some kind of industrial building. Um, right off the bat, looking at these pictures, you're gonna have to go in there and gut it.
Yeah.
Just not worth it. And it's a shitty building.
Yeah.
An automotive parking lot. Problem with car businesses is no municipality wants them. They hate used car places. They hate mechanic shops. They often will zone so that you can't put them in. And they're just going to give you a hard time. And especially something like this, a Florida car, it's like a buy here, pay here, cheap cars. They're not going to want that. Repurposing a very small space like this, coffee shop, something like that, but then you need a drive through. Not worth the headache for 300,000. There's better deals out there.
Yeah.
Um, here's a bunch of industrial land. Just looking at these rooftops all rusted out, not interested. Access to a railroad sometimes is appealing, but you need massive warehouse industrial space, not these little buildings. These drive-throughs, Aurelian, I don't know if you guys have these up in Canada. They're actually very cool. You literally just drive your car in, roll your window down, tell them you want 6 cases of beer, open your trunk, and they put it in there. It's one of the greatest things ever.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it now too.
Yeah.
All the gas stations are getting drive-throughs up here by me. Everything. It's like everywhere's drive-through now. You don't even have to go in anymore.
Yeah. So what I would do with this is I know a couple operators that are in this space. I would potentially buy the building and lease it to them. If you don't know any operators, find some. And if you don't know where to look, talk to the Budweiser rep, the Miller, talk to the beer reps because they're the ones that visit every single one of these in town. And you could say, hey, who's buying up these places or who's looking to expand? And this has a little restaurant area in it too, it looks like. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And if the liquor license comes with it, even better. It would have to come with it actually. It's part of the sale.
True.
Not interested in any of these. Scrolling down. And again, when I first started doing this, I would look at every one and dissect it. Excuse me, but I've been doing it for so long that I can just zip through them. Car washes. Everybody thinks this is just mailbox money. Car washes, laundromats, self-storage are full-time jobs. Don't think they're not. So something like this, all this stuff's going to break. You got to have a maintenance person. The chemicals need to get replenished. The vacuum cleaners need to get emptied. The quarters need to get emptied. If it gets cold at night, you have to winterize everything. And then if it's warm the next day, de-winterize it. It's just a job. And they sell at huge multiples for some dumb reason.
That's
So
great.
no laundromats, no car washes, self-storage. If you're going to do that, you have to go all in. You can't just buy the self-storage facility down the street and think I'll just do one, because that business requires a lot of overhead. It requires automation, attentive staff, and the only way to really get your money's worth is if you scale it. So have a plan that in the next 2, 3 years, you're going to have 4 or 5 storage units, and you could put some kind of management in place. Otherwise, it's you emptying the units, dealing with people that don't pay, all the nonsense, right? It's like an apartment building where if you have 50 to 70 units, it's your highest pain point because you can't afford a full-time maintenance person, a full-time leasing agent. When you get, 150, 200, then you can hire staff to take care of things, get some economies of scale, right? So let's look at another tab. This is small town. Let's find a bigger.
So those tabs are for different areas, is that it?
Yes, they're per county.
Okay.
Where'd you get those tabs at? Did you make a file or a program or something, or did you just?
I put them all under one bookmark folder
Oh,
that
okay.
I right click on and open all. And
All right.
I'll send this link to you guys. And if I don't, remind me, please.
Okay.
So this is Warren County. It's got some rural areas and it's got some very high-end areas. So let's take a look at this. This is advertising $1, which means it's for lease. Now, anytime somebody has a property for lease, there's always the potential that they'll sell. Because if you look at the holding cost for this giant building right now, it's got to be pretty significant, right? Let's see. They don't give you much of a description. It was an indoor soccer place, which is not a great business model. They built an incredibly large building that's just a shell The good thing is, if it's soccer, it probably has high ceilings. And if you can get it zoned, this can be repurposed to warehouse or industrial. And industrial, if you can have 18, 20-foot ceilings, that is awesome.
Looks like part of it has office space and the other part looks like high ceilings there.
Yeah. Again, great for an industrial area.
So you want 18 to 20-foot ceiling for industrial?
Yeah, higher the better.
Okay.
And I'm guessing this is maybe a 10-foot door. So ceilings in the center are probably 22 feet. And no supports is even better.
Yep.
Because you don't want your forklifts running into things. So I would not on this one. I know the area. I think getting it rezoned would be very difficult. But if I didn't know that, I would call the realtor and say, hey, I want to buy this building. So right now I'm searching for newest. Let's do price. Okay. Retail and design center, an interior design place. And if you look in the background, there's a strip mall.
Looks like a pretty nice area.
Yeah, really nice. But 1.8 million
Shoot.
is, I mean, they're on crack for a boutique store, right?
Right.
$1.8 million for 4,000 square feet plus a 6,000 square foot warehouse. And if you see that, that's that warehouse, right? So this is such a unique client or tenant that has to come in here. They need super high-end office space or showroom space, and then a warehouse.
Yeah, like
It's a needle in a haystack.
right.
$750,000, I think, for 2.2 acres. Looks like there's a house on it. They're selling the land. That would be a tear down. Again, office condo, land, not interested. None of this looks appealing. $1,500 square foot building for $150,000.
Wow.
Yeah, this is just a shell.
Shell, yeah.
And 1,500 square feet is just not enough, right?
Not very big, no.
It's I could see this being used by a contractor, maybe a landscaper. It has some parking. So, on this, you would look at there's open land here. What can I buy this land for and build the same thing? If you can buy it and build it cheaper, move on. If you can't, it might be worth looking at. Right now, a 1,500 square foot metal building with some insulation, it's not very expensive to construct.
Yeah.
This here looks like some kind of specialized office building. Not a ton of parking, no interest.
Do you estimate parking compared to a size of the building?
So it varies. There's a lot of factors. If you're near a bus stop and in a lower income area, not a big deal because a lot of your employees and maybe some of your customers will get there by bus. Parking is based on what your tenants require. So, if you have a karate studio, everybody's going to come there after school. So, your parking lot's going to be full from 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on. Coffee shop again, morning, afternoon business. Um, I've had large buildings with few parking spots, and it scares a lot of tenants away. People don't want to sign a lease knowing that their business is great, but their customers can't park because people don't want to be inconvenienced and they just won't visit your shop. Aaron, where we live in Loveland, there's so many times that there's such great bars and restaurants, but there's no place to park. It's a mile down the road, but we won't go there. We'll go somewhere else because of parking, right?
Yep.
And I mean, that sucks.
Especially during the winter months. If it's nice out, you may, but if it's not, you're right. You're not going to park a couple blocks away and walk in the snow just to go eat somewhere when,
Right.
not when there's so many options.
Yeah. Let's find a tab that has higher end or more.
So now that you've been doing this a while, do you have like a list of people that need space, or do you just pretty much go out looking for a tenant once you find the deal?
I never have people looking for space.
Okay.
So here is Northern Kentucky, $2.5 million for a meat packing plant. They better be sitting on a bunch of acres.
4.46.
Yeah. I think what's happening here is Amazon's building a lot down there and everything's just gone through the roof.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is insane. A golden coin place.
This is in Florence.
This is, yeah,
Oh wow,
half a million dollars.
that's crazy.
Yeah, very inflated.
Yeah, that market's nuts.
Yeah, so here's a little pizza place, right? $200,000. Just your run of the mill pizza place. Um, this is a lot of work, but you can call up some pizzerias that are maybe 30 minutes away from here and ask them if they have any desire to expand. Tell them you've got a great location. And oftentimes, business owners don't have the money to buy real estate, excuse me, or they would rather use their capital to invest in their business. So they want to lease. So be like, hey, pizza guy, I can rent this spot to you for $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month. It's ready to go. We could probably buy the pizza ovens, the refrigeration, all that. Turnkey, right? So you set the deal up before you buy it, or you can lock this up under contract and then spend every minute of your day calling pizza places or bakeries or whoever else can utilize the space. Not a great use of your time, but it's an option.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. This is another overpriced area. I've called a lot of these building owners or brokers, and they want more. A lot of these places are fully rented. They want an asking price where you're negative cash flowing.
Oh, really?
And, I'll say, listen, does your seller know that whoever buys this is losing $500 a month? They're like, yeah, but they think it's worth more than it is because the area is up and coming. I'm not a fan of doing that.
Because you have no way of telling for sure. You can't predict the future.
Yeah.
The
So here,
market is what it is.
yep. So here's a strip mall. Subway. Let's see. Where's the sign? Okay, next to a much larger strip mall. You have a chiropractor, a liquor store, a Subway, a sports bar. Seems like there's adequate parking.
Yeah.
Not bad. So they're advertising one place for lease. So they have one vacancy. Now with Subways, a lot of them, a lot of the franchisees will get their corporate leasing department to sign the lease. Huge deal because would you rather Aaron King, a guy that lives in Cincinnati, personally sign the lease, or would you rather have Subway Corporation sign the lease?
Subway.
Right. Yeah. And I was shocked. I had a strip mall and Subway, the corporate headquarters, signed the lease. So when I sold that, that was a huge selling point because you have a national tenant, right? And there's no way they can get out of that lease unless they go bankrupt.
Mm.
Do you understand that, Aurelian?
Yeah.
Okay. Aaron, so, for years, people love those national tenants. And then they started getting bit. Places like J.C. Penney declaring bankruptcy. You have a
Yeah.
120,000 square foot building. They're probably paying $40,000 a month. And you think a company that's been around for over 100 years will still be there in 100 years. Well, now those people are sitting on very, very expensive dirt.
Right.
So here's the corner spot that's available. Again, I would not on this one. I was going to say I would call and ask if they're interested in selling, but this is a newer strip mall. If
Mm.
it had more vacancies, I would call, but they're not feeling much pain right now. One vacancy, it's just par for the course, right?
Yep. Yep. That's probably expected. They probably built that in, I mean,
Yeah, of course. You have tenant turnover.
yep.
So, would it be a good idea, thinking of the business model where you call, where you want to invest and buy buildings with vacancies to approach brokers that are advertising vacant spaces?
Yes, 100%.
You do that?
I do. And here's the reason why. So if this strip mall was listed right now for $1.1 million, they're going to have a ton of people calling, right? I want to go where no one else is looking. So how many people are actually going to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, is this strip mall for sale?" Well, no, it's for lease. Well, listen, call the owner, ask him if he'll sell it. I can move fast, cash buyer, even if you're not a cash buyer,
Mm.
right? But get their attention, right? And let them know, man, this is what I do. I'm a full-time commercial real estate investor. Sell them on your story. Don't just be somebody that calls and inquires because um, if they're going to invest their time into making those calls for you, you want to convince them that it's a good use of their time, right? Be like, hey, listen, instead of getting commission on a $1,600 a month lease, what if you get commission on a $1.1 million building? Find, and ask as many questions as you can. Is the owner local? Does the owner have any other properties? Do they do this full time? And that's where you're going to find the deals, right? Because again, if this was advertised, it's a great looking building, relatively new, one vacancy. It's going to go for top dollar.
Are there websites that instead of like for sale, like Sipsy Clients, are any websites that show leasing, like buildings that have
Yeah,
leasings
yeah,
where you can
we'll
call?
we'll get to that. And look at this, right across from a McDonald's
Mm.
and a park and ride for additional parking.
Yeah, that's nice.
And look at how many people are going to come into this gas station here and see this sign that's pointed right towards the gas station, right?
You're a pro at using Google Earth. I've never seen somebody so proficient.
Yeah, man. I spent so many hours doing this. But I love this building. It would be so easy to lease out. And especially when you're next to an older strip mall, right? It's like if you're buying a used car and you see the new version of that car, man, it's gonna hurt.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving.
Yeah. So if that building had more vacancies, then that would be exactly what you were looking for, basically. Because
Yeah.
like the building is just not vacant enough to probably get them to sell.
Yeah.
It's not paying at this point.
Yeah, the owner's not feeling much pain.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one,
Wow.
I called them, they sent me their pro forma. It was a very high asking price. It's, I don't know if you could see it, but there's an O'Reilly's Automotive there.
Yep.
That's their anchor tenant. And just a lot of fillers in here, right? Insurance, CPA, signalized intersection, which is awesome. Your anchor tenant's got their sign right on the corner. Dry cleaners, these are tough, man. So the problem with dry cleaners is every couple days they get a delivery of chemicals. If those chemicals spill, it's an environmental mess, like worse than spilling oil or gas, right? That has to be disclosed to future buyers. And it's a ding. A lot of banks won't finance on that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Those chemicals are nasty. And literally, if a hose slips out and a bunch of the chemical falls on the asphalt, you're screwed.
Well, I never knew that.
Personally, I would avoid dry cleaners, or I would avoid buildings that used to have dry cleaners.
And the phase one will tell you, right?
Phase one will tell you. And if a phase one indicates that, you're going to have to do a phase two. You know what that is, Aaron?
No, I was about to ask. What do you?
Phase one environmental inspection is where they basically just look at the history of the building and determine the probability of any soil contamination or environmental hazards.
Okay.
So if they determine, 30 years ago, there was a gas station there, excuse me, and there's no records of the tanks being removed, then you're doing a phase two inspection where you actually have a company come out and do soil samples, do some digging, and test for environmental contaminants.
Okay.
It can become lengthy. It's problematic. So this was a cool building. I told somebody else to look at it. So $50,000 in net income currently, plenty of value add possibilities. Separate electric, owner pays water, sanitation, and heat. And there's a deli on the first floor. So
Got a bunch of apartments above there.
yeah, the deli hasn't been remodeled since 1970. And I don't know, it doesn't look like it's operating.
No, it doesn't.
So now you're finding a tenant for your commercial space. And oops, you're trying to figure out what kind of vacancy you have on the apartments. So if they show you apartments, they're showing you the nicest ones they have, right? The nicest one that they have has brown carpet.
It's a water heater.
Yeah, it's a boiler.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're not high-end apartments, right? So your clientele is going to be lower end. Class C tenants
Yep.
and more turnover with that class of tenants.
Yep.
This one's been on the market for quite some time as well. Probably just priced too high. The area doesn't call for remodeling the apartments. So you're basically just playing landlord,
Yep.
keeping up with repairs, and this can turn into a lot of work. These old churches are cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, just very hard to repurpose.
Okay. So in terms of, so we look at properties right now. In terms of population for the area, what are your criteria? Are there some no-go, no-no?
Yeah, I don't care what the population is as long as it's not very rural.
Okay.
And even if it is, if the numbers work, the numbers work. The one mistake that I've made is buying in areas where there's a lot of job losses. I've bought a bunch of buildings at auction in a town called Ripley, Ohio, and there was a power plant closing, there was a giant factory closing, and for some reason, I think back then I had a giant ego and I thought everything that I touched would turn to gold, and then I got bit. I got brought back down to reality, and as long, I should have known better. I was just an idiot. As long as there's not job losses, right? Small towns are fine if the economy's stable. If you're within commuting distance of a city, cool. People that like to live out in rural areas can commute to the city. So don't let that scare you. And Aurelian, it's even better because that's not where people are looking. There's not a lot of eyes in those smaller areas. If you go to I won't buy in a city center because everybody's looking. They're using analytics. I don't mind buying in suburban downtowns, but the center of a city, everything's going to go for top dollar. You're buying at market. So here's one of my listings. This is a building that I bought, actually small town. It had three, and I don't know if you read the blog on this that I posted on Fairless's site.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So this is that strip mall. Three paying tenants that have been there for a very, very long time. And I have a bank that's literally ready to go. However, I found out that you can go on the FDIC website and find out how many deposits are in this zip code. And it turns out there's not enough for a bank to come in here. So unfortunately, this is all going to have to get repurposed.
yeah.
Yeah. So upside down picture. Oh, I got to talk to my listing realtor about that. So yeah, I mean, this absolutely sucks because I thought what bank wouldn't want to come in here and just open up shop in 2 days, right? But yeah, this is all going to have to get torn out, repurposed, something. It's going to be a challenge finding a tenant in here because it is such a small town.
So what are
Yeah.
your thoughts in terms of who could fit in there?
A vape shop, some kind of quick mart because there's a drive-through,
Okay.
possibly a coffee shop. My concern is there's a restaurant here already. It's a pizza shop, but they serve breakfast. So I don't want something that's going to compete with them.
Mm.
I had somebody that wanted the space, but they were in the insurance business. I've already got an insurance agency here. It'd be a dick move to
Have another one move right.
have a competitor in there.
Mm.
Just not smart. So if you look at this listing here, this almost looked appealing, but these ceilings were very low. we called on that. When you find just this wide open uh, industrial or warehouse space, excuse me, um, pretty easy to lease out as long as you're close to an interstate. This one is not near an interstate and it has low ceilings.
Who's your tenant for a property like that?
Um, it would be some kind of manufacturing or warehousing place. And if they have a little showroom or some office area, it's even better. Again, what is this? A 3-4 bay car wash, $240,000 and a full-time job.
Mm.
So, okay, here's another good example. This one's been on the market forever. This is, so you have a tax place, an urgent care, a doctor's office, and I think, is that an eye doctor or something with one vacancy? Obviously priced high because it's not selling. And you're at 9,000 square feet for just over $1 million. So you're over $100 per square foot. And I would estimate build cost to be safe $100 a square foot, right?
Yep.
So you could build something brand new for this amount of money, but you need the land. And it looks like there's plenty of land around here.
Mm.
So yeah, not ideal. It's also sat in the market forever. So, you know, the landlord should try to find a complementary business here, all healthcare related,
Yeah.
maybe a medical massage place,
You think there's an, I mean,
pharmacy.
just because it's listed at that, I mean, could you come in at, could you figure out a number that would work? And,
Yeah.
you know, that, you know what I mean? Is that something
It's
that you do very often? I mean, you think, I'm just curious.
um
Is it just a waste of time, kind of?
well, if this was in a better area, I absolutely would, right? But
If it was where that other one was, we were looking at that had one vacancy.
yeah. So I mean, look at this.
They were out nowhere. Yeah.
I mean, you can listen, you could buy this land right here or something closer to here where there's an
Yep.
intersection and set up a brand new strip mall, right?
Yep.
So somebody was ambitious and they built a strip mall.
They got people to rent it. Now they're trying to sell it for top dollar, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, the chances of them for selling less than that's probably not good, especially if it's been on the market a while and it's rented.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
they're not losing money, probably.
Yeah. Let's jump to Crexy. Okay. So Crexy is a commercial real estate site. And we'll type in, Aurelian, give me a city in the States.
Tucson, Arizona.
Okay. You have property down there, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what's available in Tucson. We're going to remove the boundary here on this map and expand the area a little bit. And let's say we'll maximum price is 3 million. Okay. 100% occupied. You don't want it.
No value add possible.
Right. Aaron, the problem with buying something like this is if Harbor Freight leaves, you now own very, very expensive dirt and you own a building that was made for them. Right. So a lot of people will buy this for mailbox money. There's 5 years remaining on their lease. It's at a 7.75% cap rate. And you're just praying that in 5 years they renew their lease. Right? So no interest. Office building, unpriced. Remember where I think I shared this with you, or maybe not, but anytime you see something that says unpriced, people like me will glance over it, or not like me, but people will glance over it because they're looking at hundreds of listings a day. Well, these are the ones that it's almost worth calling on.
So what is it unpriced? Any idea? I mean,
Usually it's priced very high.
uh,
There's an off chance that it's a deal, but doubt it. So this looks like a little healthcare building or an office building. Not much interest, more offices. This is, so it's a corner lot for $875,000. Very populated area, a very weird footprint.
Mhm.
The building cannot accommodate a drive-through. Maybe it can, hard to say.
Accommodate a drive-through is in case you want to turn it into a coffee shop, or
Any kind of food service business, coffee shop, food, even like a quick mart convenience store.
ice cream.
Yeah. And again, drive-throughs typically have to go through zoning. So before you anticipate being able to put one in, you want to call the zoning director and find out. Yeah, so a lot of these are fully, oh, here's one. Retail. On the market for 400 days. Okay, so this is some crazy stuff here. Look at this sign. It's just a bunch of banners that they threw up there. $1 million, great mix of tenants, signalized intersection. Surrounding businesses, they don't talk about what businesses are there. So just a bunch of mom and pop businesses. Look at the disrepair that this sign is in.
Yeah,
So absentee landlord. This would be worth inquiring because it would scare a lot of people away. Barbershop, immigration, electronic taxes. So you're catering to the Hispanic population, surrounded by residential.
Mhm.
Couple restaurants, Ace Hardware, Family Dollar. So probably a class C area. But nonetheless, these are the deals that not a lot of people are looking at. It'd be worth making a phone call. And then if you're buying something out of state, find out who manages it. Well, not on this one, because whoever's managing it is doing a poor job. But find out if there's really good property management companies down there that only do retail. And a lot of brokers will have contacts for that as well. Another thing you could do is if you find a go-getter realtor, give them, make them your property manager. Hey, I'll give you 10% or 8% a month on my rents, but you have to manage it. You've got to give me, monthly updates. You've got to actively lease it, interact with the tenants.
Want me to call them?
Um, yeah, I'll send you this link.
So some people, say you need to have the right talk. So what questions do you suggest I ask?
The right what?
Right questions? What do you suggest I ask?
Ask the person that you call. Is that your question, Aurelian? What do you
Uh,
ask
what type of questions do I ask?
when you pick up the phone and call?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I would very briefly tell them who you are. So what I do is, hey, my name's Ash Patel. I'm a full-time commercial real estate investor. I love this building, or I want to find out more about this building. And before you end the call, let them know again that you're full-time. You know, if you're not full-time, don't lie about it, but give them some attributes about you. Hey, I'm a commercial real estate investor. These are the types of properties that I buy. Or, I've bought similar properties to this, or, something that is above and beyond an ordinary inquiry, because they're all getting calls on this, right? So you want to sell them on you, give them your story, but don't waste their time. Be very brief, drop a couple of things that will convince them to take you seriously. And, a lot of times I'll throw out that I'm a cash buyer. Um, and I do that even at times that I don't have the cash, because I've got such a great relationship with my lender that I know anything I bring to them, we can get financed in 30 days. Right. And you want to also be careful about that, because in the contract, if they put in cash and you don't close, you're losing your earnest money. Your financing is not a contingency.
Oh, okay.
So that's what you do. You put cash offers without a contingency, and but you still finance.
Now, I'll say that I'm a cash buyer just to get their attention.
Oh, okay.
And if I can avoid it, I'll avoid putting that on the contract. At times, I'm forced to do that, where at that point, I'm rolling the dice, right? So here's a crazy story. I bought a building. This was 2014, 15. It was 15,000 square feet, advertised for $500,000. And I wanted to offer them 400,000, but they wouldn't take me seriously. $100,000 under asking, just an arbitrary number. So, along with my offer, I gave them a $50,000 earnest money check, which not a big deal, because that's my down payment would have been uh, about that, right? 20%. It would have been a lot more than that. Excuse me. Um, so these guys turned around and said, okay, how about this? If you don't close in 30 days, we're keeping your $50,000. So, I mean, they called my bluff. I called my title company, called my bank, and I said, hey guys, I've got a lot of money riding on this. We have to close in 30 days. Are you confident that you can do it? They both came back and said yes, and we got the deal done. So, throwing out huge earnest money checks is another good way to have people take you seriously. Now, that comes a little bit later in the process. Obviously, you can't do that right away. Always use the listing realtor as well, right? Aurelian, you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. Aaron, do you know that? You know why?
What do you mean?
Though.
Okay. So if I want to buy this building right here,
Yep.
am I going to come in with my own realtor, or am I going to use the
Oh,
listing realtor?
gotcha.
What's
The
the answer?
listing
Right.
realtor.
Right. Because I don't want to pay my guy 3% also.
Yep.
And if somebody else comes in with their own realtor and I go in and use the listing realtor gets double the commission. So they're more
Okay.
likely to take my deal, right?
I understand. Okay, so
Um,
they get it on both sides.
yeah.
I
So
got
bring a check with you if you go to look at a property, and just write a stupid earnest check if you're going to make a stupid offer,
you. Makes
right?
sense.
Uh,
Yep.
Otherwise, they'll be like, screw this guy. Like, that's too low. But when they
Yep.
see that big earnest check in front of them, they're going to be like, all right, hold on. He's serious.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, I talked to somebody the other day and I meant to do this. He found some great deals in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Do you work with a bank or a credit union, Ash?
I work with a local lender, and my advice is always find a local bank that has three or less locations. There's a lot of reasons for that. One is the same people are there. The same people I've dealt with 13 years ago are still there. The board of directors that has to approve all the loans are still the same people. So you truly build a relationship. I was with PNC Bank for 30 years of my life, and I was in their private wealth management, or whatever the hell they call it. And they sold me on all this stuff where, hey, you get your own team, your own person. Well, I couldn't get any loans done with them, right? I mean, they still have all those bureaucratic steps that they have to go through. And it was just a nightmare. If I brought them a fully leased building, yeah, no problem. But when you build that, when you bring them unstabilized properties that have some vacancies, they want nothing to do with it. And it's just not worth dealing with them.
Yeah.
So small banks that get to know you and will finance deals that big banks don't want. I had, I think Bank of America call me a few weeks ago, and they wanted to refinance all of my properties. And I thought, hey, if you can beat my rates significantly, yeah, it'll save me a lot of money. They started looking at my properties and they're like, okay, we'll take this one, this one, this. We don't want this one. They wanted only properties that were stable and fully rented for 3 years or more.
Oh,
Right. So, I mean, no. Right. And if I bring you a new property that's not stabilized, you're not going to finance it. So I don't mind overpaying a little bit with the smaller lender. I
Mhm.
can probably get a better interest rate somewhere else. But the fact that these guys always come through and I don't lose deals because of them is worth overpaying a little bit, right?
yep.
Let's see what this is. So we're now in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Pizza place. Okay, obviously never buy this because you're never going to be able to find another tenant that wants this building.
It's
Mellow,
wild.
yeah, the only way to buy this is Mellow Mushroom. I think they're a chain.
They are.
Okay, cool. So 16 years left on a double net lease. Initial annual rent is $232,000, which will increase by 10% every 5 years at an 8.5 cap rate.
Wow.
So this is not a bad deal.
Yeah, especially with it being leased that long, and it's
Yeah.
a national tenant that's got multiple. Bunch of. There's one right down here in Wilder,
Does it
Kentucky.
look like this?
Nope, looks totally different. A lot of them look. They're all wild looking though. They're all a little different.
Okay.
So it says double net lease, but also triple net lease. If it's only double net, do you know which net is not included? Is it taxes or insurance?
I don't know if they've listed it here. No, you would have to call.
Mhm.
But so, people that buy these types of things want to park money.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a double net,
What What's
pe-
that mean?
I'll tell you, the fact that it's double net would probably not interest a lot of people. So, triple net, Aaron, is taxes, maintenance, insurance. So they're leaving out one of those, right? So either maintenance is
Uh,
up to the landlord, either taxes are up to the landlord, or something, right?
okay.
Insurance, but it's a newer building. taxes you just factor in, right? Find out what the auditor has the building valued at, because when you buy it for 2.7 million, the taxes, the the tax value is going to reflect that,
Mm.
right? So if right now it's $1 million because that's what they think it cost and that's what they built it for, and then you triple that, your taxes are going up significantly.
Yeah, you need to
Gotcha.
factor that in your
Yeah,
rent.
and that's why that cap rate might be so high. That's
So
an
when you buy
interesting.
it, you're basically telling it what it's worth.
Yeah, when you buy something on a fair market transaction, the auditor now says, okay, obviously that's what it's worth because if someone's willing to pay that,
Gotcha.
and that's what your new value is, and that's what your taxes are going up to. What the hell is this? 1.5 million, 12,000 square foot lot
Downtown.
on the market for over a year, whatever. This is they're not interested in selling.
If it's been on over a year, right?
Yeah. Um, this looks pretty cool. $3 million. Occupancy is at 17%. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's weird.
Or maybe they lost their anchor.
That would be a huge problem, and it shouldn't be worth $3 million.
Maybe not.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh no, it's
Former grocer anchored. Yeah, so they lost this health market. Yeah, $3 million is a lot.
Yeah, it really
And
is.
and now you're looking for a needle in the haystack, right? Um, somebody like a Kroger's is not going to come in here because it doesn't fit their, or if they come in, you're gonna have to remodel for them, right? The facade will change. You're gonna have to find some one-off tenant that can occupy a massive amount of square footage on the market for almost 2 years. That's,
is
you
it
know,
what you call TI doing the remodeling? Is that tenant improvement?
yep.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
What was the question? I didn't even.
So a TI allowance, tenant improvement allowance, if a national tenant comes in here, they hold a lot of power, right? So they're going to say, hey, listen, we're only going to pay $4 a square foot, and we want $100,000 from you for remodeling costs. And you have no choice. You're going to do it. If you can land a national tenant, you really don't care what they're going to pay, and you don't care how much you have to give them, because once you have that, you can charge higher rents to the other fillers in your strip mall, right? Everybody wants to be next to a Kroger or a Whole Foods or
Yep.
Starbucks or Chipotle. All right, so where are these deals that are supposed to be in Chattanooga? 7,000 square foot building for $575,000. So right away, you know it's what is it, 90s, roughly $80 a square foot, right? Is that right, or am I?
Close to that, yeah.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
part, I
So,
guess.
again, using our $100 build cost, obviously this is an older building. Let's see what's in there. Restaurant, chicken and fish. It's going to smell like fish.
Big deck too.
Yeah. So, um, hopefully there's a tenant that's staying. Ton of potential. So the answer is no. You're buying a vacant restaurant. No interest unless you know the area and restaurants are in demand. Warehouse.
How do you evaluate the demand for restaurants? How do you evaluate that?
Um, you look at vacancies, you look at other listings. If there's a lot of restaurants for sale, not a good sign. If there's not much vacancy at all of any kind, that's good. Um, another thing is I often will get on uh, Facebook neighborhood sites. So Chattanooga, find out what suburb of Chattanooga this is, and see if they have a Facebook neighborhood site. So if you get on there, it's all people that live in the area, and they can give you great advice.
Mhm.
Hey, I'm looking to buy this building. What would you guys like to see there? Is there a restaurant that's missing? Are there a lot of restaurants in the area? Ask these questions, and you'll be amazed at how quickly people will respond. It's actually one of the greatest tools that I use.
Smart.
It's Facebook, either the neighborhood page or they have a garage sale page for each town typically. And it's just a lot of people that will interact with you. They're on the site a lot.
Yeah,
It,
I'm on one just for Gatlinburg because we go there quite a bit. So they're always posting different restaurants or things to do or specials or places for
yeah,
rent or so if anybody ever asks a question, they're answered really quickly, like you said. So
yeah. Hey, so I am expecting a call sometime. So if I end abruptly, that's why.
okay.
Um, so back to that neighborhood site though. It really is a giant tool. You get the pulse of the community. So you can ask questions about crime, or you just read through their posts. You'll find out everything about crime, schools, politics in that area. People love to bitch and moan on those sites, or they love to be very supportive of their town if there's a good vibe there. But you'll find out what's bothering people, what's great, what events they have. You'll spend 20 minutes on there. You will get the pulse of that area.
Interesting.
Smart.
Multi-tenant office warehouse in industrial park, almost $3 million, 42,000 square feet, 2.5 acres. Two tenants are in place and occupy 17,000 square feet. There's approximately 25,000 square feet left over, so it's less than half full. Okay, perfect. So steel frame building, columns are 20 feet clear height, and the center is 24 feet. This is perfect. Warehouse is served by a loading dock on and two on grade 10 by 12 loading docks. So this is absolutely perfect. Loading docks are meant for semis, right? There's that drop of 4 feet, 5 feet where semis can back up. And now the trailer is even with the factory floor or warehouse floor. On grade loading docks are just open garages that are on the same level as the parking lot. And typically you can drive a box truck into the warehouse, which is great. So this one, and warehouse and industrial is so hot right now. Um,
Mm.
Aurelian, I'm giving you this one.
Yeah.
Um, when you call this person, this is obviously a commercial broker. You're going to want to find out if they've had any activity on potential tenants.
Should I be wearing a tie too?
No. um, yeah, dude, these commercial brokers, they're, the good ones or the new ones always are perfectly manicured, expensive suits. I walked into a completely crappy building that was like a hoarder house. commercial building, apartments. And this guy had on like $500 shoes and we're walking through just garbage. And it, drove a shiny black classic Jaguar. Yeah, he looked like a New York City broker, but yeah, those guys are fun. Um, yeah, let's find out what these guys are paying, what the existing tenants are paying. You're buying this at $68 per square foot, built in 89. The roof does not look like it's in bad shape. And on a, you're looking at a couple $100,000 roof job here if that needs to be replaced. What I would do, if this comes under contract, you send a local one or two roofing companies out there to evaluate the health of the roof. Part of your due diligence. And there's not much you can personally do to lease out this space because you're not tied in to that market, both in terms of location and in terms of the tenants that would come in there, right? So here you're going to want to professionally list it with a broker. Days on market 54. That's good. Time since last update. I don't know if that's a price change or just additional information, but 12 days. So it's a pretty active listing. I would definitely call on that.
You were suggesting initially any activity. Ask if there was any activity. What did you mean?
Yeah. Find out from the listing broker if there's anybody interested in leasing out this space. Right. What happens a lot of times with a large space like this is companies will look at it, they'll look at several others, and they're slow to make a decision.
Mm.
And one thing that I love doing, but that's hard, is lock it up on for 45 days while you test market it. Probably not going to work with professionals here, but I've done this in the past where I'll say something like, hey, I don't know the area. I'd love to lock this up for 45 days. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to market the hell out of your property. Now, if I buy it, or if I find somebody, I'll buy it. If I don't find somebody, at least I've generated a lot of buzz. And now people are talking about your building. It's getting out there. I'm going to put it all over social media, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to spend money advertising it. Even though you're not going to spend money, you're going to do it all for free. Kind of a win-win, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it's listed by a professional broker, you're not going to get that opportunity. That's typically a for sale by owner.
So what you would just call this guy, see if he's got anybody that he looking for to rent it and go from there. I mean,
Well,
what
again,
the conversation you like with this guy about this particular building,
yeah, you want to call him and say, hey, I am an out-of-state investor, really like this building. Can you tell me more about it? I don't know that I would throw in cash buyer at $3 million because they may not believe it. They just may not believe you, right?
Right.
I mean, if you have 3 million in cash, you're buying $10 million properties.
Right.
So yeah, like don't blatantly discredit yourself. Yeah, ask questions about the area. If you're out of state and you're looking at this property, they already know you're serious, right? Because this isn't advertised in the Wall Street Journal. It's advertised on Crexy in Chattanooga.
Yep.
It's not a Facebook ad that popped up. So they're already going to take you seriously. Yeah, ask them what kind of interest you've had from potential lessees. Ask them what problems do you see with the building? What would you change about the building?
So you just really calling to try to get more information about what it is and tenants and
You call to find out if you should pursue this deal or not. right? And you
Yep.
find out as much information as you can. Find out about the owner, right? If there's any pain points that he has, well, he really doesn't want to sell, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, does he want to do a joint venture? Can I buy half? He'll be the boots on the ground. I'll come in, resupply his capital. Yeah. I mean, anything, if you can get creative to get deals done, that's always good.
Yeah, I'm looking at a property where the seller is not, they wanted to sell and now they changed their mind because the market is so good right now. Is there a way, a middle way, or is there another way to approach them to convince them?
Yeah. Tell them you better sell now while the market's hot, because what happens when interest rates go up? So that's the typical human greed. That's why people, when stocks are going up, they don't sell because they think they can make more. And when stocks are going down, they panic and they sell, right? It's just the way human greed works and emotions. So, he sees his building value go up. And you could say, listen, I'm trying to buy something fast because interest rates are starting to creep up. So, prices are going to come down, loans are going to get more expensive.
And there is lots of inventory coming to market too.
There's not what?
There is a lot of inventory that's going to come to market.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, have I fried your brains yet?
A
Yeah.
little bit. Can you do a little bit of a map search like you usually
Yep.
do? This
Yep.
one?
Yep. So let's do a street view on this as well.
So it sounds like your conversations with each one of these properties is obviously going to be a little different depending on what you see, the deal, the broker that's running it or posting it for sale by owner. So it's always going to change a little bit depending on each deal and each building, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. The more you do it, the more you get into a groove, right?
Yep. Yep.
So pretty cool area. You can see some construction going on here. And there's some retail here, salons, um, electrical supply, tile store, another tile store, some kind of health services, a lot of distribution type businesses here. Um, Window tinting, UPS, a title office. So a pretty nice mix, a liquor store. So it's not all industrial, it's not all retail, it's just a nice mix. And then you're surrounded by a ton of residential. Some kind of rock quarry here. So your major road is right here. Nissan dealership. More retail, food, strip mall. Great area. So let's find out how close the interstate is. Okay, not too far. So let's do directions to Interstate 75. You're 5 miles away. Interstate 75, Aurelian, is probably the most heavily traveled interstate in the US. Runs north to south, Michigan to, is it Florida, Aaron?
Yeah. It goes all the way. I think it goes from New York, maybe,
Does
doesn't it?
it? No.
Doesn't it go up that far?
I,
I know it goes all the way to Florida. It goes into Florida for
I
sure.
think it's Michigan to Florida.
Okay. Okay. I
It's
know
a
it's up north.
Yep, the primary north-south artery in the U.S. So, man, for
I'm thinking of
distribution,
A1A. I'm thinking of A1A. I
yeah,
think that's all the way down the coast.
right. For a distribution facility. This is great. 5
Mhm.
miles and all decent roads. There's nothing that's, like a dirt road or nothing bad. If there's rock quarries here, there's definitely giant trucks traveling this road. So that's a great area. Location's awesome. All this residential around here, you can get your employees from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite a heavily populated area. It doesn't get much better. So I don't know why you guys are still here and not making your phone calls.
Right.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Not for now, no. I mean, seems like I, got a little better direction of where to look and how to look and kind of what to look for, and so I mean that's a good starting point for me. Give me some experience looking through this stuff and making phone calls and getting my feet wet.
Yeah. If you guys come across anything that looks appealing, just send me an email.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'll give you my thoughts on it. Or if you
Perfect.
find a couple, we'll get on a Zoom call, whatever. But
Okay.
it's just hours and hours spent searching
Yep.
for 4 to 6 deals a year.
Yep.
But now those 4 to 6 deals are, 40% cash on cash at purchase and potentially, 100% more, 100% or more value add return, cash on cash, right?
Wow.
So we're looking for needles in a haystack.
Yep.
You a buy and hold investor?
That's a good question. I started out as a buy and hold. 2015, I thought the market was overheated and I started selling off properties. I was very wrong about that timing. So I sold off properties and I invested with Fairless in a lot of passive deals. Um, and then I realized I was wrong. I just wasn't working as hard to find deals. So I probably 1 year, less than a year, I didn't do anything. And then I got back into it. What happened was I realized that the deals were getting harder to find. And instead of working harder, I made the excuse of saying the market is too hot.
Mm.
And once I realized that, I just got out there and started networking, working a lot harder to find deals. So there's always deals in any economy to find. It's just finding them before somebody else and looking in places that not everybody's looking. I
Yep.
don't think a lot of people are looking in Chattanooga, Tennessee for warehouse space that are out of state, right? So these are our needles in a haystack.
Yeah. What did you hear about this town?
So I interviewed somebody for Joe's podcast and he found an amazing deal on a fully leased strip mall with a Planet Fitness, some other national chains at an unbelievable return. So, but it was off market. Nonetheless, I made a mental note to look at real estate in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Just never got around to it. But find these towns that other people aren't looking at. Right now, Austin, yeah, Scottsdale, Phoenix, Tucson, everybody's looking in the hot areas
Mm.
because they want the appreciation, but nobody's looking in Chattanooga, Tennessee. You know?
Yep. It's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for today because it really felt overwhelming because there is you can look everywhere, but now with some direction, I feel.
yeah. Just keep looking, dissect the deals, and the more you do it, the faster you'll be able to skim over properties.
Mm.
I'm gonna start doing a bunch a day, and then I'm sure I'll have plenty of questions for you as I go. Like I said, I'll email them or try to get them all together for you so we can, take up
Yeah.
less of your time. But I'm sure I'll have some questions as I go.
Okay. I'm going to send you guys the links that we talked about. And then I'm
Okay.
also going to send you all these bookmarks. But I don't know that you want to look at most of them, probably 20 of them are just Cincinnati or Ohio. So here's that call I got to take.
Yep.
So I'm going to end this if you guys don't mind. But
Nope.
Crexy is a good one.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Thanks for your
you.
time.
Thank you, Aaron.
Nice meeting you. Talk to you later.
See you later. Bye bye.
Sash. Hey man, how are you? Good. Let me get out of this Zoom meeting real quick. No, you're fine. No.